Today I'm going to give a quick recap on my FKT attempt at the Heritage Trail in Iowa. .02 miles, 3 hours, 58 minutes, and 24 seconds, just barely squeezing in under the 4-hour mark, running the entire Heritage Trail at an average pace of 7 minutes and 56 seconds per mile. And with that, I think I have the fastest known time for the entire Heritage Trail. Thank you everyone so much. I posted about it on Strava and on Instagram, and you guys have been very generous with all your congratulations. I really appreciate it so much. I'm sure that there's someone else that's run it faster than me, but I don't know about those times. So if anyone does know about a faster time, please let me know. Please have that person submit their run to the fastest known time website, because I'd love to see a bunch of people making attempts or even beating me at this trail, because I just really enjoy running on this trail, and I just wanted to share that with everyone that's out there. So thanks everybody, and if anyone's interested in it, please go after the title and take that crown from me. I would love to be able to see that. But I do want to go over a quick recap of what I thought about the run, the gear that I brought with me, all that stuff. So we'll just kind of go through it in no real particular order. The first thing I want to talk about though is my knee. In the video yesterday, I mentioned that around mile 22, my knee started acting funny. It's my right knee, the one that's kind of been giving me a little bit of a problem sporadically throughout this year. I'm not really sure what it's from. I have some ideas. I think it's overall just a muscle weakness. I think that there's something going on in my stride that I'm unbalanced. Anyway, the knee started bothering me at mile 22. By about mile 25 or 26, I really couldn't push it anymore, so I tried to give it a little something extra to finish that last 5K hard. But the knee just was completely disagreeing with me. It wouldn't let me move very quickly at all. After the run, when I finished, I had to walk back to the car. That took forever because I was hobbling along. And even for the next 2 days after the run, right now I'm filming it pretty much like 48 hours after the run. Now it just still kind of feels a little bit tender. But like as of last night, I was having a hard time getting up and down stairs, even just like moving quickly was hard. And so rapid recovery, but for the good 36 hours, it was really rough. But I think I'm fine. The route though was longer than I expected it. And so some of you have already been like commenting like in the video that I was like, oh, there's no more trail, thank goodness. And that's because the trail was longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be about 29.5 miles total. But when I got to the point where I thought it was going to end, where it ends on like Google Maps, where it ends on Google Street View, there's since been city revitalization projects that have happened in the city of Dubuque there, where they've taken a waterway. It's like the B Branch Creek or B Creek Branch, something expansion project. And it's this beautiful waterway. I tried to capture some of it on the run, and it extends another like half mile past what I thought was the end point of the trail. Now there's no clear demarcation between when like the Heritage Trail ends and the B Branch Creek project begins. And so I think they're all intended to be one just kind of contiguous thing. Because at that point on the Heritage Trail, it's just blacktop that looks like it cuts through like what used to be an alley perhaps, or just this little sliver of property in between like some like commercial there's like a dairy warehousing or like some sort of like depot and like other just like private property. There's like a little sliver of blacktop that cuts through the city of Dubuque. So it's not really a trail there either, and it just kind of continues into more concrete, and then you're in this like city redevelopment project. But I ran until I just couldn't see anymore, and so I was so excited when I kind of came up this little mini hill, and I saw that it ended in construction and there's no way to get across the street. I mean, I could have crossed the street, but like there wasn't like a path or anything built there. So it seemed like that was the end. And so I was very happy to see the end, because I didn't know if it went for another half mile, another mile, another 4 or 5 miles. But however long it was, I was planning on running to the finish. But I was nervous because I was way out of gels and I was getting low on liquids. Very happy to see that it ended where it did. But there is construction going on there, and I'm not sure what that construction is, so who knows if the trail will eventually be even longer. And at that point, you know, I guess I'll have to do it again. But it was what it was for this time. I think I got the whole thing taken care of. I did bring a mask with me the entire time. I tried to put some of it in the footage, and for the most part, I didn't need it. I kept it in like a stash pocket in my vest. And anytime I saw someone coming or someone was coming up behind me, I would take it out and put it on. For the most part, for like the first 25 miles of the run, that was maybe 5 times. Usually at the different like entry points to the trail, there would be like a runner or a bicyclist or walkers that were enjoying the trail as well. And just, it's not that wide. It's wide enough, but it's not that wide that I don't think I can really socially distance. So I thought for everyone's comfort, I would run with it on. But by the end, once I got from like the end of like the crushed limestone part of the trail, which 25 miles of this was crushed limestone, it was beautiful. Then it got to just kind of concrete or blacktop. I know there's a difference, but I'm not exactly sure, like compositionally, I'm not sure what the difference is. But the blacktop there, there were a lot of people, especially like at the beginning of the blacktop. There's a little pond, a recreational area. There were families out. I think there was like a local cross-country team or maybe a track team, some other runners, lots of other bicyclists, some people fishing. So lots of people out, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I couldn't stay socially distant from everybody. So I did have a mask, and I just kind of had it on for a lot of that last 5 miles. If I didn't have it on, I was running with it pretty much just in hand, because it would take too long to keep putting it away, digging it out and putting it back on again. So that's what I did. For the most part, people were, you know, fine with me wearing a mask. I think people were either giggling or just smiling at me and saying hi. So that was fine. In terms of gels and nutrition for the run, I brought 4 gels with me, and that seemed like enough. But then mentally in my mind, I had planned out having one every 5 miles, which if you do the math on that, it means I would run out of gels at 20 miles with 10 miles to go. So I realized that after taking the first one. So then I spaced it out to about 6.5 miles per each gel, and that ended up being fine. So I think if I had originally spaced it out at 6 miles per gel, I would have been fine. I didn't feel like I needed more gels in the race. I did bring 2 liters, or just shy of 2 liters, because I had the Univet Elite drink mix, and that you'd mix 1 packet with 800 mils of fluid. About a liter is about a quart. It's pretty close. And so, you know, just shy of 2 quarts, because I had 2 packs of it. And that provided me lots of sugar and caffeine and other electrolytes, so that was fine. I probably had like 8 or 10 ounces left, maybe not 10. I probably had good like between 5 and 8 ounces of liquid left at the end of the run, which was very nice to have as like a post-run like drink as I was walking back to the car, which, as I mentioned before, was longer than I thought it would be. So I had to walk like half a mile back at the end of the race to get back to my car. But the amount of liquid, I think, was good. 22 liters for what was relatively cool day. It started off at 60 degrees, ended at about 75, maybe closer to 80, but probably around 75 and humid for the end of this run in late July in Iowa. So relatively balmy conditions, but 2 liters I thought was good for the 30 miles. I do think that my vest needs adjusting. Right now I'm chafed like where this microphone is, but like right on my collarbone. And I thought originally, I've been thinking that it was the straps on the vest that are what's causing the chafing. But looking at a lot of this footage and just having lots of time to think about it during this run, I think it's the sternum strap. That I think I just need to move it down further, and that should eliminate the chafing while still being able to make things a little bit tighter. So hopefully I can make some improvements to the vest, but otherwise the vest was the perfect size. Very breathable, lightweight. My mask stayed dry in it. I had my car key in it as well, the 4 gels, and both my cameras. So I was alternating between this GoPro camera and the Insta360, depending on whether I wanted a regular GoPro shot or a 360 camera shot. I had a little zipper pocket that I could just tug it in and then switch it out on my selfie stick. So the vest worked out great. The shoes were also great. I ran in the Endorphin Speed. I felt like I'd been debating between a couple of different shoes. I think that of the shoes that I had been thinking about, I think they all would have been fine, except for maybe the Adizero Pro, because there just isn't as much underfoot. The longer the race, the more comfort becomes an issue than speed. And I think the Endorphin Speed is the right mix of that. Really high stack height, that Power Run PB foam I think is great for when you're trying to work hard. And there's a nylon plate in there, not a carbon fiber plate, that helps save on weight, and it's a little bit less rigid, which I think for me and my ability and my speed and weight, I think matches up pretty well. So I really enjoyed having that, especially when I got to the concrete portions at the end of the run. I was really happy that I had something with a really thick stack height to it, just to absorb a little bit more of the impact of that concrete. Now, along the entire route, 30 miles, there were a couple of road crossings that I had to traverse. And for the most part, I didn't have to stop. I think I only had to stop once, and I did put that in the race video. But other than that, I got really lucky. At the way beginning of the run, at like the 0.6 mile mark, there's a very busy road. A road that's so busy that I don't like really run on it around here, because so many trucks are going at a very fast speed on it. And I was worried that I was gonna have to stop there. The other thing that I was worried about was that there is a freight train that goes through town at the beginning of the race, and I was worried that there was one that like came through town right as my wife was dropping me off at the start line, and I was worried that that was going to cause like a big traffic, pile up or jam up that would make it hard for me to cross the road at that point. So I was really worried about that. Fortunately, that wasn't an issue either. But otherwise, I was very lucky in terms of being able to run 30 miles point to point and having to stop only one time due to traffic. That's just absolutely amazing. The other thing that I would look at in terms of looking back at the data from the run, I think there's a lot that I can learn from my heart rate and kind of what happened there, and I'll still be looking at that, but I probably won't look too closely at that until we get closer to maybe another marathon training block that I do, or if I do another sort of like marathon time trial. But one of the things that I have looked at so far was my marathon time. So I did run 30 miles, but I did also run 26.2. Obviously, but one of the things that I can do is look at how long that portion took. I didn't like take a lap on my watch, but I can look at the data after the fact, and it looks like my 26.2 time was 3 hours and 23 minutes and change. But I'm feeling really good about that for not really having a taper, not doing any marathon specific training for this. I didn't do like a ton of tempo runs or intervals or anything like that. So I did some, but nothing marathon specific. The workouts that I did were more like 50K specific, I think. But I felt like really good about that, given kind of my level of fitness, and not so much fitness, but level of training. 323, I feel like is pretty good. Very happy with that. After that point though, that's when I got to the concrete, and then mentally I just kind of lost, I didn't lose it mentally, but like in terms of like the ability to push on and to just kind of really like dig deep, I just kind of lost it there. I think that's where, like, if this were a real race and there were a crowd or at least other runners to run with, that would have been really helpful. But after that, I was running about 9-minute miles, and so not quite the paces that I was hoping for. I was really hoping to push it. The knee wasn't there, the mind wasn't there for me to be able to do that. But I was able to at least finish relatively strong. I wasn't walking. I didn't have to take any real breaks other than like that one for traffic where I had to wait for the cars to pass. So I'm feeling good about the finish there. But still, that means there's also lots of room for improvement. Otherwise though, another way that I have a lot of room for improvement though is with the pacing. Now originally the race plan was to run 7:45-minute miles for the first 10, maybe 7:30 for the second 10, and then see what I have for the last kind of 10. What ended up happening was I kind of was like anywhere between 7:45 and 7:30 for the first 20 miles, even up to the first 26. Like I just couldn't figure out a pace. Like I was either running a little bit slow or way too fast. And so like the pacing was just all over the place. If you looked at my paces or my splits and try to figure out what my pacing strategy was, you would think that my pacing strategy was to run like 7:45 or 7:40 for the first marathon and then 9-minute miles for the second half, which is pretty much what I did. But there wasn't a lot of like discernible variation, so a little bit of discipline is needed there. Those times, those 7:45 and 7:30 are just paces that I'm not very used to running, and I'm not a very good intuitive runner to begin with. So that was something that I could do better, but at the end of the day, it's not really a pace that I need to run frequently. So I guess I'm okay with that. That's all I have for today. If you have any other questions about this run or this route, feel free to leave them down in the comments down below. I'd love to keep the conversation going down there. Thanks everybody for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully being safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?